all heard them stories about a guy got himself a Honda Civic, takes it on over to the local dyno shop, and boom, in 5 seconds, he's got a 500 horsepower pro drift car, Jack. That isn't exactly the way it works. You can make some amazing power. You can actually save a lot of gas, but what is tuning? How does it work? And how much power can you realistically make? We're gonna break all that down right now. So ECU tuning was what it is. You've got a little module inside your computer, or it is the computer, the ECU. And what the ECU does is it controls the air-fuel ratio. That's how much air, how much gasoline, and how quickly it gets sparked, producing power, goes down. Now see, back in the day, when I wanted to tune my car because it was carbureted, all I needed was a flashlight and screwdriver, so that way I could adjust the timing light. So what is the ECU exactly? Again, it's a brain. It's a complex computer system that has what are called maps in it. And to think of a map, you want to think of a graph, you know, columns and rows, and you've got different points inside that graph. Each one is a different value. Different value is how much air, how much fuel, and at what time am I going to control the spark coming out of them spark plugs. Now, you need 3 things, again, to make power: air, fuel, and spark. That is the job of the ECU. And that air-fuel ratio, well, it's the AFR. Brutally important. So the stoichiometric ratio, that is the precise ratio between how much flammable gas vapor is going to ignite with the air when you get the spark. Now, that's that part of the map you're going to go ahead and control, but the timing is how high up inside the cylinder is the piston when the spark comes through. Logically, you would think, I want the spark to happen exactly when the piston is at its furthermost up point inside the cylinder. That isn't exactly true, because when you ignite gas vapor and the air, it takes a little while for that flame to cascade all the way through. And remember, that piston's going up and down faster than Ron Jeremy did back in the 70s. It's just thrusting up and down. You need time for that flame to travel. So, at high RPMs, you need that spark to happen when the piston is not quite at the top. It's a little bit lower than the top, and you want to time that out. That's your timing. Now, if you have a supercharger, you got yourself a turbocharger, you have a much higher air density and the spark should happen a lot sooner. That's something totally different. What kind of gains can you realistically expect? Okay, all seriousness, it is possible to get between 10 and 20% gains from a tune alone. So let's say you have a 500 horsepower C7 Corvette, like this one, just happens to be just like this one. That means that you should expect between 50 and 100 horsepower gains. Okay, so that's what everybody says, 50 to 100, but that isn't really 50 to 100 down to the ground. It's gonna be a little bit less. Example, on this one, I gained 42 horsepower to the ground, but that was also when we did the cold air intake. Okay, I didn't do the cold air intake. We bought my wife's car and it already had it on there. I think it's stupid to do that as your only upgrade in the tune. I digress. So, there's something else that you should think about. Every time you modify part of the way that the engine breathes or shoves fuel down into the cylinder or combusts, you really should adjust the ECU tune. It's important because you're changing the way the car breathes, the way that it digests its food. You want to make sure it uses it. You don't want basically your car to get diarrhea all the time because you didn't teach its bowels how to digest the nutrients. That'd be kind of gross. Plus, it can make or break your engine. If you're going to put high compression pistons into your modern internal combustion engine, but you don't reset the tune, you're going to have some big old problems, possibly even grenading your engine. That's where everything goes kaboom. So go into the tuner. You're going to get some dude that is basically like Voldemort. He can, with a little laptop, go in there and change every dimension of the computer. Side note, I also tuned the transmission of this car because it's an automatic 8-speed. My wife's, it ain't mine. Mine is a manual 6-speed Tremec TR6060, a beautiful transmission. Okay, so that can either make or break your car. Now, I haven't even talked about two-step, launch control, boost pressure, and all these are factors you gotta take into consideration when you're doing those maps. This is why you need a professional, somebody that knows exactly what the heck that they are doing. Another example of what is possible. So my Corvette C6, it is an LS3 with just a few little bolt-ons originally. Oh shit, I would have pulled over if I'd seen him coming a little sooner. So mine with just a couple small bolt-ons, like, you know, full-length headers and, you know, no catalytic converters going all the way back. Very highly illegal in most of the 50 states, except mine's registered in Montana. But anyways, I got it tuned after those couple things. And I went from 391 horsepower right before the tune to 421. I've done a lot of modifications since there, but every single step of the way, I tuned it. Because again, I don't want my car to get diarrhea. Anyways, that's how tuning works. But what car do you have? What kind of tune did you put on it? Did you do it professionally? Did you order one in the mail and plug it into the little port you got down there? And what kind of power gains did you make? I'm really curious.